Hey boys and girls, isn't it amazing how much we've learned from reading this little book, What Do You Do with a Tale Like This? This is such an awesome book. Today we're going to practice asking and answering questions. Now I know you're already super amazing at asking questions and answering them. Today I'm going to teach you some tricks on how to ask thin questions and how to ask thick questions. Before we get to that though, get a buddy and let's take a look at part of this text again. Remember this page? If you're an eagle, you spot tiny animals from high in the air. If you're a chameleon, you look two ways at once. If you're a four-eyed fish, you look above and below the water at the same time. If you're a horned lizard, you squirt blood out of your eyes. If you're a bush baby, you use your large eyes to see clearly at night. How does an eagle use its eyes? Can you point to it in the text? How does an eagle use its eyes? Pause this and tell your partner. Did you point right here? The eagle spots tiny animals from high in the air. Amazing. Let's look at these two lizards, the chameleon and the horned lizard. Both the chameleon and the horned lizard are small lizards. What do you know about either of these lizards? Pause this and tell your partner. I didn't know very much about them, except for what I can see in the picture. The chameleon's green, the horned lizard's brown. That's about all I know. You're so smart. How does each lizard use its eyes? Can you point to it in the text? Tell your partner, how does each lizard use its eyes? You're absolutely right. The chameleon, look right there, it says, you look two ways at once. Check out this guy. He can look that way and that way at the same time. That's a cool trick, but he looks kind of crazy. And the horned lizard, they can squirt blood out of their eyes. What? That's gross. Just look at this guy. I wonder why he does that. Probably to protect himself. I wouldn't want to pick up a lizard that looked like that. And I definitely wouldn't want to eat it. Why does the four-eyed fish need to look above the water and below the water at the same time? Tell your partner, why do you think the four-eyed fish would need to look above the water and below the water at the same time? That's what I would call like a thinking question or a thick question because you can't point to the words in the text. You have to think about it. Why would the fish need to look above and below? Well, I guess that might help him if something was going to eat him. He could see anything above the water trying to eat him. He also might be able to see anything below trying to eat him. He could also find food better that way. Maybe he needs bugs on the top of the water. Maybe he sees little fishies under the water. Those four eyes must come in pretty handy. In what ways are a bush baby and a bald eagle similar in how they use their eyes? Tell your partner. You're right. The eagle and the bush baby, they both use their eyes to see things that are super tiny. That's what I call a thin question, because you can find those answers right in the text. The words on these pages, they curve and they flow in different ways. Why do you think the author chose to set the words this way? Tell your partner. Doesn't it make it more fun to read like that? It's like a different break from the books that we usually read. I prefer it this way, do you? So I told you I was going to teach you about thin questions. Those are the questions that are right there in the text. That means you can ask it and somebody can find the answer right there in the text. Those kind of questions start with words like when, where, who, how many, and you can find the answer right there in the text. Let's give it a try. Remember this section? What do you do with ears like these? Oh yes, I remember the bat and the jackrabbit and the hippo and the whale and the cricket. They do some amazing things with their ears. Let's think of some thin questions we could ask that our partners or somebody can answer right here in the text. I'm going to do this one about the hippo. If you're a hippopotamus, you close your ears when you're underwater. What kind of thin question can I ask that people could find the answer right here in the text? Let me give it a try. Okay, so I'm going to use this worksheet that tells I can ask and answer questions. And I drew my little hippo here for my picture. So I'm going to think of a question. What do hippos do with their ears? See, thin questions can start with words like what. And I can find that right in the text. Over here, I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to draw another hippo. He's so cute. And I'm going to answer that question. What do hippos do with their ears? I love how I put that question mark because that's asking you something. And I'm going to answer that. Do you remember what they do? I'm going to put it right here. Hippos close their ears when they go underwater. With a period, because I'm telling you something. That's how you can ask just a thin question. You can ask a question that you can find the answer right there in the text. Then there's tricky questions. These are called thick questions because you have to think about the answer and maybe search for some evidence in the text. Those kind of questions start with, why do you think? Or what if? Or how would you feel if? What might? These are really kinds of thinking questions that you can't find the answer right in the text. I'm going to try doing that with this to prove that I can ask and answer thick questions. You ready? Ooh, I liked the chameleon. I'm going to draw the chameleon right here. Chameleon. And I'm going to ask a question about the chameleon, a thick thinking question. And I'm going to write it right here. Ooh, I'm going to use that sentence stem, why do you think? Why do you think chameleons look both ways at once? Remember the chameleon's crazy eyes? And I make sure I put a question mark because this is a question. Why would the chameleon look both ways at once? So over here, I'm going to draw a chameleon. Yeah, I like this guy better. And I'm going to answer that question. Why do you think chameleons look both ways at once? Well, I think it's because chameleons may need to keep safe so they can look all around, or look for food and they can look all around. Okay, so those are thinking questions. This information wasn't in the text. I had to think in my brain what would make sense why chameleons could look both ways at once. My answer has a period because that's a statement. So it's your turn. You need crayons and a pencil and this exit ticket from your teacher. Show me that you can ask and answer questions. You can ask a thin question about the animals that we've read about. Remember, those answers are right there in the text. Or you could challenge yourself and ask a thick question. That's a question that your partner or someone would have to think about and search in their mind for what answer would make sense. You did such a great job today. I really love reading this book with you. Good luck. Don't forget, draw a picture, ask a question, draw a picture, write the answer.